Hi, friends. Whoa. This is your 2-minute warning. Mike is making sure. Let me see if I can switch this around a little bit. Thinking maybe it's just a little bit too close to the. All right. Anyway, can you all hear me okay? All right. Um, Mike is making sure that the live feed is working. And then as long as that's the case, we're going to go ahead and get started with the annual meeting. All right. I think that's better. So we shall see momentarily. But go ahead and keep eating. Are we good? All right, we are good. So feel free to keep eating. And oh, thanks, Mike. I'm going to move this a little bit closer to me, and then you can adjust. Is that all right? There we go. I think that's going to be the best. All right, perfect. All right, well, we are going to go ahead and get started this morning, folks. So I invite you to turn. Still getting quite a bit of squelching. Is there anything that here? Well, that's not helping either. But anyway, I'm going to quickly review the schedule for our meeting, which is page 1 on the inside of your annual meeting booklet. I will just note for everyone that I had some sort of printing issue with the page numbers, so I may have to correct some of the page numbers as we go through, just for folks to know. Are you able to hear me okay? Is that all right? Okay, good. Okay. But if you look on page 1 for our agenda today, in just a moment, I'm going to offer a welcome and open prayer. And then I'll explain what we're doing with the agenda, and then we will actually approve the agenda before we start the meeting. But let us go ahead and begin. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those who take counsel here at St. Anne's Episcopal Church in Damascus, Maryland, for the renewal and mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. And I call to order this 2025 annual meeting of St. Anne's Episcopal Church. So we will begin real quick by explaining the procedure of the meeting and overviewing the agenda. What we will do is we'll review the agenda really quickly, and then we will look at the meeting minutes from last year's annual meeting in 2024. We will approve those minutes. I will offer my rector's report. I will present it. I'll actually read it to you all, but you will also find it written out in the annual meeting booklet as well. If you would like to follow along, if you comprehend better by reading, feel free to do that. I'll be happy to take any questions or comments that you may have. But I suspect the things that people may ask about are things that are going to be addressed later in the meeting by other folks as well. So just know that. And then we will have a series of financial reports. We'll have a year-end review of the 2024 financials, a presentation of the 2025 budget, and then a preview of our 2025 capital campaign. Marty Moore will offer a few comments on that front. And then we will have a time of recognition for our volunteers and outgoing vestry leaders. And then we will have the variety of things that we need to vote on. So we will have an explanation of the voting procedures. We will present the bylaw revisions and vote on those. And then we will have the election of our senior warden, our vestry members, and our delegates and alternates to the diocesan convention. And then we'll have our new vestry members take their oath of office. And then at the very end of the booklet, you will see a series of ministry reports. In the interest of time this year, we're not going to go through and read those reports. But as I had encouraged you all while you were eating, I hope you've had a chance to read them and review them. And I will acknowledge those and answer any questions that folks might have, or invite the ministry heads to respond to any questions that people might have about the ministry reports that were written. And then if any new business comes up, so be it. And then at the end, we'll have a benediction and adjournment. So now reviewing that, are there any comments, corrections, or additions that anyone would like to make to the agenda for today's meeting? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Okay. Ann motioned and Lynn seconds. Any further conversation? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Okay. All opposed, please respond. Hearing none, any abstentions? Hearing none, the agenda is unanimously adopted. We will now move to the approval of the 2024 annual meeting minutes. They begin on the next page, page 2. And I invite you to take just a moment to look over those. Does anyone have any corrections or comments about the minutes from last year's annual meeting? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the 2024 annual meeting minutes? Ann moves, and was there a second? Okay, and Charlotte seconds. So Ann moves, Charlotte seconds. Any further comment? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the 2024 annual meeting minutes, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? And the minutes from 2024's annual meeting are unanimously adopted. We will now move into my rector's report. And this begins on page 6. Yes, Steve. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, 2023 annual meeting. Yes. Okay, thank you. That will be corrected in the final form edition of the annual meeting booklet that will be put out. Yes, Ann. Correct. That'll be updated. Yep. Yes, but not in February of 2024, right? Oh, okay. That's when we had the meeting. I understand. Lynn is stating that to the yep. Okay. Thank you for those corrections. All right. So we'll move into my rector's report. I've only once been at sea at night, but I have been long captured by the evocative image of safe harbor and the knowledge that you can be at rest after a long journey or find shelter in times of tumult and raging storm. For the first 2 years I lived in Arkansas, I would frequently make trips back home to St. Louis, and I'd often delay my return to college so long that I would arrive back again in the dead of night. Coming in from the northeast, there's a slight rise at the very edge of town, and each time I finally crested it in those dark and weary morning hours, a deep exultation and unclenching of tension would come over me as I took in the street lights arrayed ahead. They were by the thousand my little lighthouses and beacons of safe harbor, of home, of rest, of rejuvenation. Being a safe harbor is in our DNA here at St. Anne's. St. Anne's has always had a heart for the ones left out and left behind. And from our earliest years, we have made a practice of looking around us and asking what we can do to serve those in need. This year, I want to build on this theme of safe harbor and explore it as an image for what God is doing anew among us. First, though, I want to stay with this retrospective lens for just a minute. The image of safe harbor is also a good metaphor for reflecting on what we have done and where we have grown in this last year. Over these last 3 years, the Tending Our Soil team has identified 2 primary opportunities for further development: creating more third space programming here at the church and strengthening our ties with Holy Trinity CSI, with the eventual aim of creating a joint children's formation program. Both of these activities, which are still ongoing, are examples of St. Anne's being a safe harbor. Holy Trinity found a home among us during the earliest days of the pandemic. And as recently as last night, their pastor, Reverend Joby Joy, reiterated the great blessing and comfort we have been to them in providing the space that has allowed them to take root and grow in this rich soil. In terms of the third space needs in Damascus, while we have yet to initiate an independent program or set of programs to develop this concept, we have nevertheless become a safe harbor for several disparate groups who have space needs over this last year, or who have had space needs over this past year. Through the great efforts of Mike Lowe, we now charter both a Cub Scout pack and Boy Scout troop, with both groups using our facilities as need arises. And we have become, at least for a season, the home of the Montgomery County Kinship Singers group on Monday nights. This is to say nothing of the other groups like the Montgomery County Low Brass and others who have found a home here over the last several years. One of our greatest assets is our ability to physically be host to these various communities and folks in need. Our space and our ability to be a safe harbor may be the most important element of our present ministry to the world around us. So, second, what does this look like going forward for us in this next year? While the Tending Our Soil team still dreams of developing more traditional third space programming, like game nights and open mic concerts, there are new needs and other opportunities that are arising almost on a daily basis. I recently learned from one of our sister parishes in Silver Spring that they have just launched to great success a support group for federal workers dealing with the complexities, challenges, and frustrations of the rapidly changing landscape in the civil service. Some initial conversations seem to suggest that this would be highly valued in our community as well. Additionally, many of our local LGBTQ families, friends, and neighbors are feeling particularly stressed and anxious at this time, and there can be some important work that we can do in offering ourselves in support of this community as well. Finally, Chris and Bill Matthews and I have had some tentative conversations with Marco Oven of the Upcounty Hub in Germantown around how we can repurpose some of our currently unused space to assist the Hub's goal of being more responsive to the material needs of the Montgomery County community up here in the northeast corner. And just as an aside, this is to say nothing of our ongoing relationship with our new child care center tenants, Nile, and the work that they are doing in the hopes and dreams that they have for using more of our space as well. I am sure that other needs and possibilities will arise as well as we continue discerning our mission and ministry in this place. But just in these few moments, I already have identified several significant needs that exist around us and the ways that we can be a safe harbor in the midst of these storms. But harbors, like all forms of infrastructure, take investment and support. We have a phenomenal physical plant here, but we as a congregation are not large enough at this time to afford all of the financial needs we have as a parish. In order to be the safe harbor that I very much think we are being called to be, we need to do three things. First, we need to continue developing our commitment to yearly stewardship. Certainly, we have a need to grow numerically, which we are doing slowly but surely. But even now, we have members and regular attendees who do not consistently pledge. I would like to encourage you, if you are not a pledger at this time, to seriously consider making a commitment today so that we can most effectively continue the important mission and ministry that we have before us. Second, we need to begin and complete the capital campaign we started planning last year. This will happen in this calendar year, and Marty Moore will have more to say about this shortly. But doing this campaign will help position us to see the future vision of who we can be as a safe harbor for those seeking refuge around us. And then third, and finally, we need to take to heart Jesus' lesson in the parable of the talents in Matthew 25. We have been given a great asset here, and we need to be astute and frankly shrewd in embracing its potential. I want to challenge us this year to consider how we can maximize what we monetize. Now, that might sound off-putting, and I'll be the first to acknowledge I wish we never had to talk about money. But the honest truth is that if we are to live into our call to be a place of refuge and respite, we need to find ways to maximize our financial stability. I am not calling us to turn every single thing we do into a money-making endeavor, but I am encouraging us to be much more confident in putting ourselves out there and asking for what we need. We have such a great community here with so much potential that we need to be like the servants who go out and invest their talents for maximum gain and return. Friends, these are very precarious times, but I pray that we can see the beauty in what we have here, the sense of safety and security that people find here, the ways in which we even now are a safe harbor to a world that seems to be spinning out of control. As we look towards this next year and the future beyond, may we embrace our call to be a place of support, of rest, of peace. And in this, may we evermore be blessed and enlivened in the Spirit of God, who calls us ever more fully into the safe harbor of his love and presence in this world. Thank you. So I invite you all, as I mentioned, several of the kind of concrete things I've talked about are elements that other people can also speak to, but any immediate questions you have of me or comments? Okay, wonderful. Well, hearing none, I would like to invite John Catlin. Where are you, John? Oh, there you are. I'd like John to come up and give the Finance Committee report. And then I don't know, between John, you and Mark, who's doing the review of 2024, but you can kind of handle that however you would like. And there's a larger full-page copy of the booklet here if you would like to use that. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Father John. Try not to trip over the cord here. The booklet explains. Is that better? Okay, and the booklet explains what we've been up to in the Finance Committee, and we meet every month and kind of go over things. So I'm not going to. You can read that. Mark, do you want to do the treasurer's report? I'm standing here. All right. The next couple of pages are the. Hang on, I got to put my glasses on. Okay. Next couple of pages of the treasurer's reports. Some of the highlights. The pledge income was actually slightly above what was pledged for the year, which is a good thing. There are other areas in income where it fell short of our projections at the beginning of the year. The big one was daycare. We had no income from daycare at all. We were anticipating initially getting someone in there in the middle of the year. And the Walker House rental, same thing. We were anticipating having that rented all year, and that was only rented in the second half of the year. So that was the big difference. The golf tournament was just about spot on, and the miscellaneous income was way below what we had anticipated. So our actual income for the year was some $35,000 less than what we anticipated. However, on the expenditure side, we also wound up saving a lot of money. One of the big items was on utilities. Part part of it was we didn't use so much gas because we were freezing to death in here last winter. There was no heat on. And with the contract that had been negotiated on both gas and electric, those came out and they're big items, considerably less than what we had budgeted. And there were some other items that had come out less. The salaries and the things associated with the salaries are pretty much right on the spot because we have control over those. So at the end, the bottom line over here on page 12 shows that at the end of the year, we actually spent more than $6,400 more than what we had taken in, which is, am I looking at the wrong one? That's variance from the budget. The $5,800 more than what we had taken in. But, with a $35,000 miss on the income, the rest of that was made up by the expenditures being down. The numbers at the bottom kind of reflect a cash flow thing, which is a bit complicated. We actually have quite a bit of money tied up in designated funds, which are on the next page, and there are things like the pledges that come in 2024, which are for 2025. We don't show as income until 2025, so they're on here as a deferred pledge income, which is $5,700. When all this is added up, the operating fund was $1,390 in the hole, which is not good, but considering we've been in the past, and Steve Mullen can attest to this, back when he was treasurer, that's great, right, Steve? So that's kind of where that is. The next page is the designated funds. There are the top part are funds that are designated by the vestry, and so the vestry decides how this money is to be spent, and they can change their mind. The restricted net assets are basically designated by the donors. So like if you put on a check, I want $100 to go to food pantry, that $100 is going to food pantry, and the vestry doesn't have the right to go and put it towards a party or something like that. So the food pantry was the big item for money coming in and out, and also the HVAC repairs, putting all this stuff in. Okay, any questions on 2024? Marty? What will we see on a balance sheet? Chris, where are you? Well, yeah. The 19 minus 1390 is the operating fund. Basically, that's the balance. Okay. All right.
Actually, the numbers at the bottom that say at the bottom of the treasurer's report, most of those things are showing, but most of the assets on the balance sheet that have to do with the operating fund.
Okay. Yeah, the overall balance sheet includes things like the buildings and the furnishings, and we don't have that in the report, but we can get that to you if you want to see it. Okay. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to move on to the 2025 budget, which starts on page 14. I'm on page 14 and 15, and I'm not going to go over every line item again. We've got the 2024 numbers on there for comparison. On the income side, the pledge income is $269,000, which is just about the same as it was in 2024. And that kind of indicates our need to grow the parish. We'd like to get that up, but that's where it is. Okay, in the building use, okay, we do have a contract now for the daycare center. So that's a big item right there, $32,000. So, and we have Walker House rented through the year, and there's an escalation on that in May, I think, and that's included in there. And that's 26,000. So you can see there for total building use income is 61,000. That is a big item. Okay, everything else there is pretty much the same. On the expense side, there's some ups and downs in a little bit in a few things. I could point out on the utilities, we spent way less than what was budgeted, but we do have heat in here now, so we're gonna have to pay for that. And I don't think our electric rates are going up, but there is talk, and I guess if you don't have a contract, and your Maryland electric rates are gonna go up in the middle of the year. Yes, I thought we're locked in, yeah. So that's going to be a big benefit to us. Okay, down towards the bottom of the page, diocese and pledge. Last year, we only were able to donate or provide $5,000 to the diocese. And we've got almost 3 times that this year. That number allows us, when we get to the bottom line, to balance the budget. Okay, going over the next page. Okay, payroll expense is a big thing. The diocese asked all the congregations to put in a cost of living increase of 2.5%. And Father John, with his goes up a year of experience, is another step on the table. And so all that's factored into his salary and housing allowance. And so that's up a bit. And if you go down to the bottom, well, the overall payroll expense goes up by about $10,000. But way down at the bottom, you see we do have this budget is a balanced budget, which we haven't been able to do for a while. And we're able to do it primarily because of the building use income that we're going to have coming in this year now, which is, like I say, it's a big benefit for us. And as Father John mentioned, that's something that we want to keep working on. All right, any questions on the budget?
Let me make a quick comment. So I just want to reassure some folks and/or clarify something. We have been working very closely with the diocese since the building of King Commons, even before that. And we have been given explicit instructions from them to prioritize balancing the budget over making our diocesan pledge. And so when there's a question, and John referenced this just a second ago, when there's a question of running a deficit as opposed to pledging, we have been told repeatedly to reduce the amount we're pledging in order to make the budget whole. And so you'll see that ends up being one of the first categories that gets reduced when we have a shortfall in the expected income. So I just want to highlight that because I know that can be uncomfortable for some folks because we want to support the diocese as much as we possibly can. But I just want to reiterate again that that's been their instruction to us.
All right, thank you. Another thing I wanted to point out was with regard to King Commons. If you look on the bottom of page 12, there's a line item that says less attorney's fees loan. Okay, that's a loan from several parishioners that allowed us to pay the extensive attorney's fees we had to close the Keynes Commons project. Now, we were anticipating sometime late in 2024 last year of receiving 50 some odd $1,000 worth of developers fees and a $30,000 donation from Mission First, which is the second part of what they agreed to pay us because they didn't build the pavilion out here. They didn't get it in the plans in time. Now, what's happened is during the construction of the project, they got hit with inflation just like everybody else and higher interest rates. And the way developers fees, they say it's like a waterfall thing. And if you can imagine, it's like the Colorado River, and we're down at the Gulf of California, and there's nothing coming out. So we're not getting any developers fees because everybody upstream is tapped into what money there was in the project. We're still getting the $30,000 donation when they actually close the project and they switch from a construction mode to an operating mode, and there's a bunch of legal things they have to go through. That $30,000 will cover the repaying back the parishioners for the loan, for the attorney's fees, and just leave a little bit of money left over. And that's it. And that's really all we can count on from the project. I said, as it operates from year to year, if there's any excess funds, then that'll trickle down to us. But there again, that's that water flow thing, and we get what's left at the end, which probably won't be anything. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Thank you.
I'd like to invite Marty, if you would like to come up and offer a few words about the capital campaign.
The last time I did one of these, I got booed when they introduced me. So I'm making progress. So that's good. I've had extensive conversations with some of the vestry, the wardens, and Father John over the last year. And every time I come to church, I kind of do an eyeball on how many people. And I do little stupid things like the first time I ran stewardship, we had 72 pledging members. And this year, Mike just told me we're just short of 50. So the thinking across the board is that you've got a much, much larger church with less people, which means the entire burden's going on less people. So that's the reality. It doesn't matter what I say or do. There's less people and there's bigger bills. So what I've talked about, and including this past Monday with Father John, is the vision that I'd be willing to work on a capital campaign is very simple. And that is, and you won't see this in writing, but you'll see it in practice, getting other people to pay our bills. That's the vision. So for example, when I did the daycare lease, it's a lot of money. And the way it works is that you've got downstairs about 3,500 square feet available that we can basically only lease to generate income to childcare. We can't lease it for office space. We can't lease it for a lot of other things, but we can do it for childcare. The way that lease works is right now they're paying for, when they start up, 1,000 square feet. And we've got another 2,500 square feet that we can't lease to them at the moment because it's not functionable to get through a permit process with the county. So in order for us to get the lion's share of the money from that lease that we've already signed, which has 2 5-year terms in it, we need to generate money to make that space able to be used so they can walk in. And instead of getting 32,000, you'll get 150,000 a year. So the campaign's going to look kind of like we've got a source of income. They just use the Colorado River with the water. We've got water flow. We just need to make sure we can collect the water. And that's going to all come on the capital campaign because we're going to need to raise. Mike's given me a wonderful little checklist of everything we need, all the way from sprinkler systems and doors and all the stuff that's going to add up to a lot of money. Even the little engineering thing they told me is like 25 grand just to have the conversation. But the good news is there's a group over in Laytonsville, the Lions Club is looking and has been working on this for several years. They're trying to raise millions of dollars to build a facility to do exactly what we're doing. And the only difference between the Lions Club and us is we actually have a building. They don't have anything. They have a piece of dirt that they hope to build it on. So, and in these little quiet conversations that I've had over the last year, I've come across somebody who made a very clear statement. They bought into the fact that we need to find a way to get other people to pay our bills, and they're willing to step up in a matching campaign. So part of what this thing's going to be doing from a quiet perspective is up to well into six figures, they're going to match what our congregation spends. So if somebody says, I'm going to spend 50 grand, that could actually be 100. Or it could only end up being 25 more, depending on what their generosity wants to deal with. So we've got walking in the door a very, very strong position. And over the next month, month and a half, I'll have that formulated, and I will be doing something very similar that when I did the last capital campaign to build the church next door, which we created a founders program. And I'm going to be working very hard and seeing who founders would be before we get into a public campaign. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say today. But the good news and what I made the statement initially is that I was not willing to do a capital campaign unless two things happen. One, they could buy into the vision. And two, we have an income stream in place. Now, of course, they've kind of bought into my vision and they put the burden on me to get the money from the lease. So, you know, and I'm happy because we've gotten to both those points. So I'm actually very excited. And to have somebody that's willing to match is, we didn't have that the first time, I'll put it that way. So I had nobody matching, and we raised $1.5 million. So we don't need $1.5 million on this one. But I look around the room and I've looked at all the pledging rosters, and right now you've got about 12 people that were in the campaign the first go round, and we got 75% of the entire congregation that was not in the original capital campaign, which means there's a lot of people that can be involved, and hopefully we'll have a crossover on both. But and if you have any questions, I can take them. I didn't know I was speaking today till yesterday, so I didn't bring a lot of notes. But I assure you, what I told Father John on Monday is we got a pretty good chunk to start with, but that match is going to have everything to do with every dollar going to support generating income. We're not going to paint the outdoor of the building and call that generating income. It's going to all be designed to how can we generate income into this facility to take the burden off the fewer people that we have now than we've ever had before. So that's kind of the start. And I'm not retired, so I actually have a day job. So it's not what I'm going to be doing full time, but I've done this before, and we'll get this done with all your support. But is there any questions, any comments, any boos you want to get rid of me, David?
What do you expect the total cost of this work?
I've got a list, and some of the items on the list aren't I don't think we need to do it in terms of a priority, in terms of generating the income part. I mean, there are things in there. This roof is maybe got 5 years left in it. I can make the case that, hey, if we got enough money, that roof will get done, and you'll see a tiered thing. So let's throw out simple numbers. Let's say you needed $750,000 and 300,000 of it were on things that we could use. It'd be nice to have, but it won't prevent us from doing some of these income generating things, and it can be that we can build into. But and I don't have the. To be all honest, I haven't studied the numbers. I know what the big number is that Mike gave me, but I haven't prioritized it. But when I have those quiet conversations initially, which will mean me calling you, it's not going to be standing in front of the church and saying, hey, here's what I want to do. I'll have a little handout that'll get very much into what the vision as well as the priorities and how we want to do it. And the only thing I really haven't thought about in the last campaign when we did this, the capital campaigns traditionally don't happen. You don't commit today and write a check tomorrow. Normally in a capital campaign, it's over. We did the last one in a 3-year period of time. There were a few 5 years. That question is a little different now for the simple reason that we've got a lease with a daycare provider that has timelines very clearly in it that puts the burden on us to get that building done. And if we do, they go from paying a decent amount of money. I mean, that childcare is making up the entire deficit from last year if you look at the budget that John just went through. So, which is pretty encouraging because it's only 1,000 of the 3,500 square feet. I mean, so it's when I saw the budget a couple of weeks ago, I said, all right, we're not starting in the hole. There's not approved yet by the county. They're jumping through their little hoops because the county doesn't make life easy on anybody. So hopefully we'll get there. But that it will definitely be outlined and prioritized. But that match has been made very clear to me that match money is 100% only going to tie to generating income and taking the burden off all your backs long term. That's the premise. So, which is, I thought was kind of a big get. Any others? Oh, good.
Thank you.
All right, we will now move on to our recognition of volunteers, and I'd like to invite Kim up. And we are first going to do our general recognition of volunteers, and then we will recognize our outgoing leadership of the parish. So, Kim, I'll hand things over to you at the beginning.
Can you guys hear me if I leave this here? Okay. So you have seen the slides up here rotating with people's names on it. It's about 65 of you should have seen your names up there. And there are also certificates for each of you on the round table in the corner, as well as, of course, the thank you cookies and that sort of thing. About a month ago, Pam and I were talking about the great things that everyone here at St. Anne's does. And we thought it was really high time that we show some appreciation for the many, many volunteers that you give of your time and talents to keep St. Anne's running. When we reviewed the volunteers and the work areas that I know of, we came out to 65 people to recognize. And I'll add a caveat to that. That's probably not everything. I can't claim to know everything that takes place here. We did our best to include everything, so if we forgot you, it's not intentional. We really do appreciate everything that everyone here does for St. Anne's. There's a few people, so reading out 65 names and talking about everything that they do will be here a very long time. So most of the people, you just have your name up on the slideshow and then your certificates in the back. There are a few people, though, that I really wanted to call out for their special contributions. The first person, and I'm looking for her, there she is Pam Brewer. Pam is 1 year, do you want to take these? Is 1 year into her service as junior warden, and she's doing an amazing job. She spends many hours here taking care of all kinds of things. and she has an endless supply of energy. As if junior warden wasn't enough, she's also a member of the Jubilate Ringers, helps with communications, stewardship, and fellowship. She frequently serves as greeter, and she's part of the Tending Our Soil Committee. Thank you, Pam. The next person that I want to call out is Catherine Conroy. Catherine has been a tremendous support to me and also a watchful eye who never fails to catch the mistakes I make because I was working on something too late at night or multitasking. That's true, before I send it out. She will see it. Catherine also leads the St. Anne's Book Club. She's a member of the King Commons Committee, serves as a Eucharistic minister, reader, and a greeter, puts together the liturgical schedule to organize our worship services, and is a member of St. Clare's Guild. So thank you, Catherine, for everything that you do. And next I want to call out Lynn Fleming. I know she doesn't want to come up here. Lynn has just finished actively serving 6 years on the vestry. She's been a wonderful leader of Women of St. Anne's. She's a member of King Commons Committee, serves as Eucharistic minister, reader, usher, and greeter, helps with fellowship, blesses us with her musical talent, and leads the Women's Bible Study Group. Thank you for everything, Lynn. And I know Janice Hicks is not here today, but I just wanted to call her out too because she's our deacon. And I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this, but that is a volunteer position. She doesn't get paid anything to be our deacon. So she fulfills that duty very well. She's also a member of the King Commons Committee and Tending Our Soil and represents us with the diocese. All right, the next person I want to call out is Frank Urardi. I hope you all have had a chance to admire Frank's amazing woodworking skills with pieces he has made all over St. Anne's. In addition to offering his woodworking talent, Frank helps with the arts ministry, serves as a counter, and helps with St. Clare's Guild and outreach missions. Thank you, Frank. And next, I'm going to call out Mike Lowe. So Mike actually lives here at St. Anne's. I'm convinced of it. Most of you know a lot about the great work that he does with the audiovisual teams and taking care of building and maintenance issues. Did you also know that he contributes significantly to communications, helps with the food pantry, gardens and grounds, and rentals, and worked hard to help run a successful stewardship campaign this year? Thank you, Mike. And next, I want to call up Mark Ludwig. Mark is currently serving on the vestry as the treasurer, and that's only a small bit of what he does. He leads the acolytes, represents us at the diocesan convention, serves as Eucharistic minister, reader, greeter, and thurifer, contributes spicy food to fellowship, and is on the finance committee. Thank you, Mark. Next, I want to call up Chris Matthews. Chris is unstoppable with her work on the food pantry, and she does a great deal more than that for St. Anne's as well. She also serves as counter and Eucharistic minister reader. She's part of the finance committee. She helps with the music ministry and sings in St. Anne's Parish Choir. Thank you, Chris, for everything you do. Next, I'm going to call Marty Moore back up here. I know you're all aware of the work that Marty puts in each summer for the St. Anne's Golf Tournament, our largest fundraiser. As with the other people I've recognized, he does a lot more than that too. Marty's been a key player in getting our big rental contracts in place. He just spoke about the Child Care Center. He also serves as banner bearer during the bishop's visit and spends a lot of time planning for how to raise money that St. Anne's needs in the short and long term to continue serving this community. So thank you, Marty, for everything you do. And the last person that I want to recognize is Joan Ward. She, so part of what she does includes bringing me a folder of expense authorizations, my homework, every Sunday to sign almost every Sunday morning. Joan also serves on the Altar Guild and as a counter. She helps with fellowship in St. Clair's Guild. She's on the finance committee and she sings in St. Anne's Parish Choir. Thank you, Joan. All right. So just remember, if you see a slide up here with your name, you also have a certificate on the table, and take your thinking cookies home. So thank you, everyone, for all the work that you do at St. Anne's. We could not run this place without you. So thank you.
And Kim, just stay up here for a moment. We are going to continue with our recognition of our outgoing leadership. And Lynn, if you'll come back up, please. I believe, Lynn, you ran for re-election on the vestry as well, right? No. So this is your only, okay. It's been hard for me to remember who has served for what, yes.
No, she's been on 6 years. I've been on 6 years.
You have been on 6 years, yeah. Correct. But that's, yes. So you were, yes. So, right. But Lynn has been on for my entire tenure. That's what I was going, that's where I was going with this. So it's been a real blessing and a gift to have you as part of the vestry. So thank you so much for your service. And thank you for the long hours of being the secretary as well. And please know that is a lot of work and a lot of commitment. So I want to say a deep thank you for that. And then also, just a comment that I thank Steve even now for being our ongoing secretary and keeping the vital work of recording our minutes alive. But as our outgoing gift for retiring vestry members, here's your St. Augustine prayer book. Yes. So thank you so much for your service. And then Kim, there's so much I could say. She has been indefatigable, and it has been an incredible joy to work with you. I don't know how many of you know this, but we have maintained a practice in my tenure here so far of having a weekly check-in with me and the two wardens, making sure that all of the elements of the parish life continue to run smoothly. And she has carved out time every week to make that meeting happen. And that's been such an important gift to me and a blessing to do that. And you served on vestry before you became senior warden as well. So this has been an ongoing process for her too. But our gift, which was hard to physically present to you this morning, but at a time of your choosing, you and Tom and I can go down to the National Cathedral, and we have purchased 100 Lego bricks for the National Cathedral Lego. They're doing this huge National Cathedral Lego setup, and we can put the Lego bricks together and have a nice lunch and do a tour of the National Cathedral. But yes, we know Kim's love of Legos, and so we have purchased that. So yep. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kim. And we will now move into our voting matters, kind of the heart of the annual meeting. So we will start with the two bylaw revisions that the vestry is presenting to you all today. The first is this section, and just a note, these have been in the bulletin for the last several weeks, so I hope that you've had some time to review these, but we are changing the language slightly to reflect that there are times when kind of emergency situations come up or needs arise for the vestry to meet in a kind of non-traditional format, say through communication via email or other purposes. And one of the challenges to the bylaws as they are currently written is that every meeting of the vestry was supposed to be open to the public. And when we have these kind of emergency situations come up, it's hard to make that happen. And so this slight change will reflect the reality that sometimes we communicate and essentially do official business of the parish via non-traditional formats like email, but that we commit to making available and public all official business of the vestry in a timely manner so that you understand what the work is that we have done and why we've done it, and that our normal and expected practice will be to have the meetings on a monthly basis that anyone can attend. So we are not dispensing with those, but we are committing to that. And then it's also a change in the word normally, because most vestries around the country, but especially here in the Diocese of Washington, might choose at times to not meet every month. And so I'll give you the big example. A lot of our sister parishes in the Diocese of Washington don't meet in the month of August because most people are on vacation. And then the other reality for us is that we always have a vestry retreat in the month of March. And we typically do essentially the work of the vestry for that month at the vestry retreat. But by bylaws, we've had to have our standing monthly meeting as well. And so this would allow us to have a little bit more flexibility in being able to not meet on a month where it makes sense not to meet, or to count something like the vestry retreat as our meeting for that month. But again, just to stress, the normal expectation would be our regularly standing monthly meeting on the third Tuesdays. So having presented that, are there any comments or questions about this bylaw change? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to adopt the first bylaw change, Article 3? Okay, Lynn moves. Is there a second? And Dom Ward seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed? All abstentions? Okay, the bylaw change is unanimously adopted. The second bylaw change is to Article 4, and this is a change that deals with our budget. And I'll explain, I'll very quickly kind of highlight what the change is and then explain the rationale behind it. The change is an added language that says committee ministry heads with an approved budget equal or greater to 2% of the annual budget may spend their to-date budgeted amount without further approval of the vestry. Spending above their to-date amount must be approved by the vestry, who will coordinate with the finance committee to ensure budgeted funds are available. And so here's the reality of that. We wanted to be very sensitive to the fact that we are not trying to micromanage ministry heads and the budgets that we have authorized them to spend over the course of the year. 2% seems like a very strange number, but the reason we set that was because if we had set it higher, for example, it really would have eliminated all of our budgets, because we don't have any budgets that are over 3% of the annual budget, any budget lines. And then also, if we set it at 1%, it would catch some ministries that usually don't really have any issues. So 2% was kind of a sweet spot. And I'll tell you the rubber meets the road reality of this is that the biggest sort of ministry line expenditure that we have outside of payroll and other issues is our buildings and grounds budget. And there have been times when fairly large expenditures have come up, and or we've desired to have something fixed. There's kind of an optimal opportunity to spend some money on something. For example, one of them is that the Walker House currently has a hot water heater that is run on the fuel oil gas line. Well, we've really wanted to try to install an electric hot water heater to help reduce the amount of fuel oil that our tenants are having to use to heat their home and then to also heat the hot water. But we have not been in a position with the kind of tightness of the finances this past year to necessarily allocate the funds for that expenditure. And so the reason that we decided to do this is it just gives a mechanism for the vestry to kind of consider when these expenditures are absolutely necessary or when there might be a little bit of room to set something aside for the time being. And the reason that we want to be able to do this is that it allows us to kind of recognize where we are with our assumed income. And as John highlighted, we had a reality this year where we didn't bring in as much as we were expecting. Now we were able to really kind of control the amount of expenditures we had to bring the income reduction to make it less severe and less impactful. But we were able to do that because we had clear communication with the different ministry heads. And so this just gives a kind of formal structure to a very informal arrangement that we currently operate with, because I don't want to presume, I hope, but I don't want to presume that we're always going to have the same robust and very strong level of communication that we have between the ministry heads and the vestry that we do right now. It would just be good to be able to kind of commit to the kinds of best practices that we're presently maintaining. So I know that's a little bit complicated, but are there any questions or comments about this particular amendment? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve this bylaw revision? Ann motions, is there a second? Okay, Len seconds. So Ann motions, Len seconds. Any further conversation? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed, and any abstentions? Okay, that amendment is also unanimously adopted. So now we get to our basically our final order of business, which is our vestry and diocesan delegate elections. So in November of every year, if you're following along in the booklet, this is page 18. In November of every year, the vestry votes to appoint the treasurer for the following calendar year. In November of 2024, Mark Ludwig was reappointed as treasurer for 2025. This year, the terms for senior warden Kim Hill and at-large members Lynn Fleming and Lanre Okusanya are expiring. Through the excellent work of the nominating committee headed by Kim Hill, the following individuals are being nominated for vestry membership and delegate alternate representation at the diocesan convention. For vestry member Mark Trumbore has accepted the nomination to be senior warden. Vestry member Lanre Okusanya has accepted the nomination for re-election to a full 3-year at-large membership. Ann Meservey has accepted nomination for a full 3-year at-large membership. And then Jeff Young has accepted nomination for a 1-year at-large membership, which will complete Mark's remaining term since he'll become senior warden. And then Jeff will be eligible to run for a full term next year. Yep. Are there any nominations from the floor? Hearing none, is there a motion? Well, actually, I think, can I, Steve, just vote by acclamation? Okay, since there are no additional nominations, all in favor of accepting this slate for vestry, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, and any abstentions? The slate is unanimously adopted. And then for diocesan delegates, Mark Ludwig has accepted nomination for re-election as delegate, Steve Potus for re-election as delegate, and then Mary Pacey for re-election as alternate. Are there any nominations from the floor for this slate? And hearing none, all in favor of affirming these delegates, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, and any abstentions? All right, the slate for our delegates and alternate are also adopted. Thank you very much, folks. I now invite Jeff and Lanre and Mark and Ann to please stand. And if you follow along in your annual meeting booklet, I invite you now to take the oath of office for vestry members. Go ahead.
I, Mark Trombor, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of member of the vestry of St. Anne's Episcopal Church, a separate congregation of the Diocese of Washington in Montgomery County, without prejudice, favor, or affectation, according to the best of my skill and knowledge.
All right. Thank you very much. Yay. And I will tell you just a quick aside. I am so proud of you all as St. Anne's. Some years it takes us a little bit of time to fill out the slate, but we have not had a year in my tenure here where we have not had a full vestry. And that's not true of every church that I've served. So I'm very proud of you all for stepping up and filling out our vestry slate every year. That's a real accomplishment. So you all should be proud of yourselves. Our final section for the meeting today is just an acknowledgement of the written reports that are in the annual report booklet. You'll notice that there are quite a number of them in the back. And I want to give an opportunity for any questions or any comments anyone may have about any of the various ministries. And I can't really answer those, but I can invite the representative up. So any questions or comments about any of the ministries of the church that are represented in the reports? Yes. Yes, please. Mimi will come forward and say something about the arts ministry. About what? Oh, okay.
Hi, Jean Hampton is in charge of the committee, and she had to leave for personal family business. So I've made a few notes that she asked me to mention. We're really struggling with the concert series. We're having our second concert on the 23rd, which is a Sunday afternoon at 4:30. We would like to see more participation from the congregation. We've been averaging about 10 to 12 people per concert. And one of the things that we would like to offer our performers is a full house. I mean, we do get people from the outside. That one of the reasons for having this ministry is to bring the community in. And then with the reception after the concert, for people to get an opportunity to talk to those who have come in. And we just need more participation. We would really appreciate that. We also need participation with helping on, there's a sign-up sheet there, making food. We need some setup, some takedown. I mean, now that we have this beautiful space, we can have the receptions in here instead of out in the narthex, which makes it a whole lot easier. But we've just been struggling trying to get enough people to come. And we also want to know if you are even interested in having this concert series. We haven't booked the third concert yet. I mean, we only have 3 during the year, and I know it's a Sunday afternoon and you've already been here, but it's not a big commitment to do it 3 times between September and June. We would, if you talk to me, talk to Jean Hampton, talk to Judy, she's on the committee. And Frank Arardi, we just want to get some feedback, and we just really need support. Because of one of the members gave a very generous donation, we're not in the hole right now. We have lost money on every concert since the pandemic was over. And it's just kind of disheartening. Jean puts her heart and soul into this thing, and it would just be nice to be able to, we want to offer to the community the acts that the performers she gets are really high quality. The Anderson brothers have a standing gig in New York City at the Blue Note. I mean, they're a big deal. They're 2 nice boys from Bethesda, but they're a big deal in the music community. And we would just like to be able to offer them, a good audience. So for anything you can do, please sign up. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. Yes. Yep.
I see the sign-up sheet back there before you leave, guys. Sign yourself up to volunteer.
Thank you. Good afternoon, my friends. There is a pastoral inreach committee, whether or not it's very visible. And what I do is attend to the needs of our congregation when they're in difficult situations. And right now, the mills are in a very, very unhappy and difficult situation. They need our support, and they need it from more than 8 people. There are 57 people on the invitation list to offer to bring a meal to them, which is greatly appreciated. If you don't know the mills, of course, Carolyn is in a hospital bed at this moment, but her son and her husband are both in wheelchairs. It's difficult for them. So I would like to encourage anybody who hasn't volunteered to give a meal to do so. If you're uncomfortable because you don't know them, get over it. What can I say? There are things you can do. I heard that Rachel and Joyce had quite a concert the other night. They sang all kinds of songs and had a wonderful time, and Carolyn really appreciated it. She doesn't communicate very well right now, but she enjoys seeing people. When I was there, she was talking, but then she looked at me and she said, "Oh, there you are." And it just, it warms my heart to have her come out of her shell for a few minutes. So this is hard. It's just hard. And I and everybody else would really appreciate it if more people could step up to the plate. As Kathy said, it's a privilege to be able to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. All right, hearing no other comments, is there any new business before us? And hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Yes, okay, John motions and seconds. Anne's been busy today. All right, all in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, well, let me pray us out, and thank you, friends, for a very productive annual meeting this year. Let us pray. Accept, O Lord, our thanks and praise for all you have done for us. We thank you for the splendor of the whole creation, for the beauty of this world, for the wonder of life, and for the mystery of love. We thank you for the blessing of family and friends, and for the loving care which surrounds us on every side. We thank you for setting us at tasks which demand our best efforts, and for leading us to accomplishments which satisfy and delight us. We thank you also for those disappointments and failures that lead us to acknowledge our dependence on you alone. Above all, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, for the truth of his word and the example of his life, for his steadfast obedience by which he overcame temptation, for his dying through which he overcame death, and for his rising to life again, in which we are raised to life of your kingdom. Grant us the gift of your Spirit that we may know Christ and make him known, and through him at all times and in all places may give thanks to you in all things. Amen. Thank you, everyone.